Understanding secret messages and creating codes are both important skills. Throughout history, skilled cryptologists have decoded famous messages, yet many codes remain unsolved. Today, we'll explore mysterious messages and their intriguing stories. These tales often captivate us even more than the secrets themselves. We'll delve into 5 perplexing codes, uncovering the mysteries they hold. From ancient times to modern day, the art of encryption continues to fascinate. Join us as we unravel the enigmatic world of cryptography, revealing secrets hidden within cryptic texts. 5. The Beale Papers. Over 100 years ago, a little booklet called The Beale Papers caused a big fuss. People got excited because it had 3 secret messages that could lead to a big treasure hidden in Bedford County, Virginia. Even though lots of clever codebreakers have tried, they haven't solved 2 of the codes yet. The main character in this story is Thomas J. Beale. He found a treasure full of gold, silver, and jewels in a mine near Santa Fe. Beale and his friends moved the treasure to Bedford County and buried it in a hidden spot. Then, Beale wrote 3 letters in code, one showing exactly where the treasure was, another describing it in detail, and a third with the names and contact info of his friends. He put the letters in an iron box and gave it to his friend Robert Morris, who ran the local inn. Beale told Morris not to open the box unless Beale or his friends didn't come back from a trip within 10 years. More than 20 years later, Morris decided to open the box because Beale and his friends never came back. Inside, he found the 3 coded letters. Since Morris couldn't figure out the codes, he shared them with everyone in the Beale Papers booklet in 1885. Even though it's been so long, nobody has cracked the codes yet. Some people think the whole story might be a trick, but that hasn't stopped codebreakers from trying hard even today. They're all hoping that somewhere in the quiet countryside of Bedford County lies a secret that could change their lives forever. 4. The Cryptos. Back in 1988, the CIA Fine Arts Commission hired a nearby artist named James Sanborn to make a special sculpture for a courtyard at their campus. This sculpture wasn't just any ordinary artwork. It was meant to be mysterious and puzzling. Sanborn finished making it in 1990, and it had 2 parts. The first part was a bunch of stones laid out in a pattern near the entrance of the campus. But these stones weren't just randomly placed. They were arranged to look like Morse code, which is a way of sending messages using dots and dashes. The second part of the sculpture was a big one, a 12-foot-tall structure that was made of copper. This part was what made the sculpture famous. It had 4 secret messages carved into it, each made up of around 1,800 letters. These messages were all scrambled up and impossible to read without cracking the code. It took a really long time for anyone to figure out what these messages said. Even after more than 8 years, only 3 out of the 4 messages had been decoded. But here's the surprising part. Before the CIA analyst and the computer scientist could crack them, a small team of cryptologists from the NSA had already solved 3 of the messages. Then, in 2010, Sanborn decided to give a little hint to help people crack the last message. He revealed 6 letters from it, which spelled out Berlin when put together. But even with this clue, nobody has been able to fully solve the last message. And even when all the messages are decoded, we still won't know exactly what the sculpture means. That's because the decoded text is like a riddle, and solving it requires being at the CIA campus. So, the mystery of the sculpture continues to baffle and intrigue people to this day. 3. The Zodiac Ciphers. You might have heard about the Zodiac, a mysterious person who caused a lot of trouble in the 1960s in California's Bay Area. But there's more to the story that you might not know about. The Zodiac wasn't just a troublemaker. He also liked to send secret messages, known as ciphers, to the newspapers in the Bay Area. These messages were like puzzles, and the police couldn't solve all of them. Between the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac sent 4 of these coded messages, but only 1 has been cracked. In 1969, 2 teachers named Donald and Betty Harden were able to figure out one of the messages. It wasn't too hard, because it was a simple kind of code called a substitution cipher. Once they cracked it, they found out something scary. The Zodiac believed he was gathering people to be his slaves in the afterlife. Even though they learned this from the message, the Zodiac didn't reveal his name. This whole cipher thing added another layer of mystery to the case. It made it harder for the police to catch him, even though it gave them some hints about who he might be. So while cryptography, the science of making and breaking codes, made the Zodiac story even more puzzling, it didn't exactly help the police catch him, but it did give them a few more clues about this mysterious person. 2. The Yagzi Case. One of the most puzzling events in Germany's history revolves around the strange tale of Gunther Stoll. He wasn't a famous figure or a wealthy businessman, but just an ordinary guy, a food technician who couldn't find a job, living in Anshausen. Yet, despite his seemingly mundane life, he was enveloped in a web of mystery that has puzzled investigators for decades. Gunther Stoll believed he was being followed, a belief he frequently shared with his wife. He confided in her about his fears, even going so far as to claim that his supposed stalkers were plotting against him. Then came that fateful evening on October 25, 1984. Sitting quietly in his bedroom, an idea seemingly struck him out of nowhere, and he hastily scribbled down 6 cryptic letters. Yogza. With that, he left his home, never to return in the same state again. In the dead of night, 2 truck drivers stumbled upon Stoll's wrecked Volkswagen in a ditch by the Autobahn 45. The sight that greeted them was bizarre and unsettling. There sat Gunther Stoll, naked and barely conscious, claiming that 4 men had been with him in the car moments ago. But there was no sign of them. Despite the efforts to save him, Stoll never made it to the hospital alive. The mystery only deepened as investigators delved into the case. It was discovered that Stoll hadn't died in the car accident as initially thought. Instead, he had been run over by another vehicle elsewhere, then placed back in his Volkswagen and driven into the ditch. Who would go to such lengths to stage an accident? And what about the cryptic letters he wrote down before his untimely demise? To this day, the case remains unsolved, shrouded in enigma and speculation. The 4 men Stoll claimed were with him, the meaning behind the cryptic letters. It's as if the truth is just beyond reach, tantalizingly close yet maddeningly elusive. 1. The Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript is a really old book that nobody can understand. People have been trying for a long time, but no luck yet. The cool thing is, you can check it out on Wikipedia anytime you want. But even though it's available to everyone, nobody's figured it out. Now, let's talk about some stuff you might not know about this mysterious book. Did you know that if you look at it really close with a special tool, you'll see that the pages are super neat? Whoever wrote it did an amazing job without making any mistakes. It's like they had superhuman skills or something. Another interesting thing is, scientists had a tough time figuring out when it was made. That's because they couldn't use the usual methods to date it. But some smart folks at the University of Arizona cracked the code and found out it's from the 15th century, around 1404 to 1438. The whole book is written using only 25 letters, and it's filled with pictures of plants, stars, and other cool stuff. People who've studied the writing say it looks kind of like a real language, not just gibberish. So, it's probably not some silly prank. It would be way too clever for that. What do you think about all these mysterious messages and codes? If you know any other cool facts about the Voynich Manuscript, share them with everyone. And if you found this interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.